What is up YouTube, and we are back. Briefly before the season ends, we hit you with another OP champion video. So we have 8 champions that are absolutely unbalanced in this patch, and we'll hit you with every single bit of information you need to understand to make this champion even more powerful. After this, we'll also present you with a build video about all of these champions so you know what you have to build on these champions to unleash their full potential. Oh, and by the way, there's a secret little thing I'm going to show you a little bit later when you want to save so much money on skins in WildRift and in TFT. So let's start with champion number 1, Kassadin. This champion is infamous for scaling, at least on the PC version of this game. However, in this game, he scales rather fast and on level 5 with the right items and the right rune setup, can quickly one-shot you if you're not paying too much attention. And from this point onwards, it just gets worse and worse and worse, but there's just one thing you need to always understand for this champion. Please do not go for really bad fights, take your time to collect side waves, go for scaling. The moment you have more than one item, more than 2 items, towards 3 items, you are finally completely unshackled, have enough points in your ultimate ability to consistently win fights on your own. Earlier than this, you're better than just most other champions, but you can most of the time just get 1 kill. So keep that one in mind. In the early game, you are strong, don't get me wrong, but you can't just win a team fight on your own. But the moment you have 3 items, you're more than welcome to do so because it becomes unbelievably easy with the right items on this champion Kassadin. Next up, we have Ezreal, and Ezreal is an absolute menace in current WildRift. Press the attack or empowerment made this champion so much stronger, as well as the buffs to his abilities. On level 1 there's barely any champion that can really out DPS him when it comes to a fair fight, and Ezreal is allowed to hit his first ability because he can use his auto attack, first ability auto attack, instantly proc the empowerment or the PTA depending on which game you're coming from, and completely annihilate the enemy champion. Another trick is to hit your second ability first onto the enemy and then use your third ability, because then your third ability will always hit even if there are minions around, making it even easier for you to deal more damage. Now, it gets even crazier as you hit the late game with this champion, because the damage, unless you're like an Omega Giga Tank, is completely insane. If you're an AD carry and you're hit by, for example, his first ability or his ultimate, at any point in time during mid and late game, you probably have to go base or hope that there's a fruit or maybe some minions to lifesteal off of. So if you want some LP and you're tired of playing Varus, just play Ezreal. This champion is unbelievably busted. The next champion that is really easy to play and unbelievably terrible to face is Xin Zhao. But there's just one thing you have to do, just take Phase Rush. This champion with Phase Rush is an absolute monster, and the damage he does is crazy. So when you're playing jungle, you're auto-filled, or you're just a jungle main, it doesn't really matter to be fair, just pick this champion. Don't be like these people and be like, oh, I'm auto-filled in jungle, let me play some Lee Sin. That is not going to go well. Just do yourself a favor, and for example your team as well, and just pick up Xin Zhao. Just go for the ganks, you farm relatively fast, you win most of the fights you take, unless the enemy knows exactly what to do against you, how to space against you, and what to build against you. And if you're ever slightly ahead, just a tiny bit, you one-shot everything that's in front of you. Oh yeah, and as a little secret, in the jungle, you do not start with your third ability, you actually start with your second ability and then put a point into your first ability on level 2. That is slightly faster than the other variant where you start with your third ability into your second ability. So give it a shot, go into the practice tool, try it out. If you sequence the camps correctly with your second ability, you'll accelerate your jungle clear by a few seconds, giving yourself more opportunities to maybe go for a certain place or maybe catch an enemy off guard because they never expected you to be there in the first place. And now, as promised, we talk about the lovely thing I mentioned earlier. If you want to save money on skins and everything WildRift related, then you'll be happy to hear that we've partnered up with Dream for you to make sure that you get the best sales and best prices possible. And to make this even better, we even extend it into TFT. So if you're tired of wasting money because the prices keep on increasing, then do yourself a favor, join the Discord through the link in the description and save some big money. Oh, and before I forget, just make sure to use the discount code KIRKS10 and your setup. Now that we've talked about this absolutely broken deal, let's talk about an absolutely broken champion, and it's Viego. This champion is almost always permabanned for a good reason. He's too goddamn broken. But if you get your hands on this champion, it's almost always close to a guaranteed win because of how unbelievably balanced this champion is. If you've watched my recent video, you already know it's about the Crit Viego. Crit Viego is unbelievably unbalanced. But let's talk about Jungle Viego for a second. You start with your first ability, put a point into your third ability, and then another point into your first ability again. Only on level 4 you put a point into your second ability. And then through the jungle clear, you're so unbelievably fast that you take an early skirmish through the river, and then most of the time, you even get put ahead very easily for absolutely free. The reason for this is that most people do not understand how fast Viego can kill his jungle and therefore get greeted by him instantaneously as they walk into the river and then immediately die. Now the craziest thing about this champion is his mobility, his ability to cast his stun if he understands how from stealth from his third ability, the insane movement speed and attack speed, which is the mobility, then the ultimate, which basically allows you to one-shot any enemy carry late game with crit. Like you just use your ultimate, auto take once and they're literally dead. It's this unbalanced. And yeah, the reset nature of this champion. For example, if you pick up a mage, and this mage has Crown of the Shattered Queen, you will pick up Crown of the Shattered Queen and you'll instantly gain the effect of that champion, of the item I mean. And even better, if you pick up a champion that has Starok's Gauge, you will gain the Starok's passive as well, so every item passive is just given over to you, with the exception, I believe, of Guardian Angel. So if you know that if Viego is going to pick up a mage, and the mage had Crown of the Shattered Queen, do not waste your most important spell instantly, because well, it will go into Crown and you will just die miserably. Lovely champion. Next up we have Lilia, and if there's one thing that makes Lilia so amazing is you can win every game. This champion is like a champion that can at all points of the game still win, regardless of how dire it looks, and the reason is the insane damage of this champion. You just need to be touched once by her when she has Liandry and a lot of AP items, and you lose your entire HP bar. So all it takes for this champion to wipe out your entire team is one moment when you don't pay attention, you get tagged by any type of spell, and then she presses her ultimate ability. If that happens and you get put into sleep, well, she just instantaneously one-shots you with the first ability, Outer Range or Outer Edge, and then the true damage and magic damage plus the burn damage will just make sure you die. There's no way you survive unless you are a tank champion or you've itemized against it in a proper way. And even then, it gets very, very problematic because this champion's damage is beyond insane. However, she takes some time to get to that point, so she needs up to 3 items to become a real force that is taking over the game, but the moment you hit that point, it's absolutely over. But if you value your sanity, just make sure to just ban Xin Zhao as playing Lilia, because that one just isn't fun. Next up we have Fiora. This champion has been buffed into oblivion. This champion is an absolute monstrosity right now. Starts with 70 AD level 1, has an insane early game power, insane mid game, insane late game power if you understand what you have to do, and just takes over most lanes by nature. She just has so much damage, it is absolutely absurd, but please don't fall into the trap of going for Grasp of the Undying, go for Conqueror, and go for, well, a lovely statement, just full damage. However, you still have options like Divine Sundra into tanky matchups where you believe you kinda need it, or into champions like Yone, you need Triforce because you actually need to kill him as fast as possible, because if you don't, he will just kill you. So technically speaking, there needs to be a third champion on this list because the next one's going to be Jax, and then we have Fiora, Jax, and Yone, like the most cringe champions in Baron lane, when we just remove Garen because this champion is just, you know, it's an NPC champion. It's very difficult to down this champion, it's always easy to have impact on that champion, it's very annoying, but yeah, we all hate Garen, so yeah, here we are. Now next up we have Mr. Jax, Yakula. So Jax has been buffed and is now kind of a weird champion when it comes to itemization. He has an AP build, an AD build, etc, etc. But Jax has one certain strength now. On level 5 he has so much burst that you can literally one-tap somebody. The next issue is most people do not know, or most benefit for you is, most people do not know how to itemize against Jax. Against Jax you want Mercury Threats. The reason is most of his damage is now magical in nature, and therefore having Merc Threats will provide you with more defensive stats against the Jax rather than plated steel caps. But still, Jax is still an absolute monster to face, and don't forget, Divine Sundra and Trinity Force are still physical damage. So with all of that in mind, you still have big trouble against this champion simply due to the item issue. And next up, he even has more DPS now. In the past, his ultimate wasn't an active spell in the sense of dealing damage, it just was a passive spell granting you resistances once you activated it. Now he casts the spell, deals AoE damage with 100% AP scaling, and his auto attacks from his passive get an increased frequency from 3 to 2, and then every 2 auto attacks you do 70% bonus magic damage, like 70% bonus AP on hit, while your second ability also hits almost as powerful as that one. So if you go for like a super powerful build that starts out with a hybrid build, like for example, you have plated steel caps as Jax and go for Divine Sundra or Trinity Force and then look into AP, it becomes very difficult for the enemy to itemize into you. And then it becomes even more impossible once you pick up Riftmaker because this item is unbelievably broken. And by the way, one of the only reasons super tanky champions actually still do die, because otherwise they would not take any damage at all. Now for the last pick, we have El Maokai. This absolute monster of a tree is not only a mystical wise tree, but it's also an abomination of death, despair, and hatred when you face him in the Rift. I've met so many people who just grew absolutely insane facing this champion, because you can play him in jungle, support, Baron lane, even mid lane if you truly want to, and well, as an AD carry with a Senna. But now, what makes this champion so unbelievably OP, and what can you do to make this champion even more powerful? First off, it's the lockdown. This champion locks you down for 15 business days and nobody can do anything to you, and you will not get any return ticket outside of, well, you're in the fountain, come back to lane so I can do the same to you again and again and again, because you will never survive this combo. Next up, he has very interesting damage numbers. If you take a look at his first ability, which has basically a Baby the Thunder on it plus base damage, you quickly realize that this champion does quite a lot of damage. Now next up, the Little Sapling. So he has access to a tool that not many other champions have. He can leave behind traps that will tell you if there's somebody there. Not only this, if somebody walks to a brush, they will always get hit by this bomber, and the damage of this bomber, depending on the build you're running, is quite high. So before a fight even starts, the enemy might be poked out for zero reason just for trying to go for some control. And providing this control for your team makes this champion so unbelievably invaluable. But whatever you do on this champion, just make sure to locate the right target with your second ability, pop your ultimate, pop every single spell, and that is basically your job. It's very simple, it's similar to Garen, like super simple. And you're super tanky, you just have to use Gargoyle, correct, or Stoneplate enchant. And then you have super high value for your team, and it gets so difficult for the enemy to do anything because all your team needs to do is like press one or two buttons and then the fight is over. And please, for the junglers out there, if you have a Maokai on your team and the enemy is a squishy bot laner, squishy top laner, whatever, go to your Maokai, camp the Maokai, get him free kills, get yourself free kills, because no lane is as easy to kill in most instances, I say most not all, than a Maokai lane. The Maokai has so much CC that he provides you with and so much damage that it becomes so easy to kill anything in your way. Well, a Garen might be a little bit too tough of an ask because it's still Garen, but you get the idea. So yeah, if you do me a favor, please junglers, take a look at that one and just make your games easier. And with that, we're at the end of this video. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget, we'll be pushing another OP builds video about this one soon after. And don't forget about the sweet discount deals you have on the Discord server. So if you want skins in TFT or WildRift, just make sure to join up, check out the offer we have, and save some big money and get more skins for your money's worth. Anyways, thank you all, and we'll see each other for more content very soon.